In the year 2032, in the state of New Mexico, United States, the government is jubilantly marking its triumph in addressing the issue of unauthorized immigration. The Mexican border wall stands as a testament to its success, effectively curbing the problem of illegal immigration. The once labor-intensive jobs that were traditionally performed by immigrants have now been automated, with robots assuming these roles. Regrettably, even the robots are not immune to prejudice. They bear the blame for the widespread unemployment, often becoming targets of ridicule and destruction when they exhibit wayward behavior. Charles, a charming individual with a penchant for companionship, employs his duplicate robot, C2, to woo women and embark on romantic rendezvous. Rather than committing to memory the intricacies of his date's preference, Charles opts for a more leisurely lifestyle within the comfort of his home. He encounters his dates when they are both inclined to elevate their connection. His primary pursuit isn't emotional attachment, but rather, he revels in contentment as long as his physical desires are met. Charles typically targeted women who frequented the ice rink, and one fateful evening, he crossed paths with Elaine. Her beauty left him awestruck, prompting him to enlist the help of C2 in creating a favorable impression during their dates. C2, obedient and efficient, embraced the task without complaint, always striving to leave a positive impact on the humans he interacted with. Curiously, Charles's father held a preference for C2 over his own son, as the robot exhibited a superior level of punctuality and thoughtfulness compared to Charles. Elaine, however, remained unimpressed by C2's perfection, although she did not object to the gifts she received. While most women hurried to advance their relationships, Elaine had a penchant for careful planning. She, too, possessed a clone robot, E2, but her robot had a different purpose: to engage in intimate encounters with the men she dated. Elaine pursued relationships with men primarily to acquire valuable gifts that would enable her to maintain her rent and sustain her opulent lifestyle. In exchange for these gifts, she employed E2 to circumvent the obstacle of physical intimacy, a common expectation of the men she encountered. Charles brimmed with excitement at the prospect of spending the night with the woman he had met at the ice rink. However, an immediate problem presented itself. Elaine had proposed a rendezvous at 6:30 p.m., and this posed a logistical challenge. C2, Charles's clone robot, wouldn't have sufficient time to return home from work and allow Charles to depart for his date. Due to the illegality of employing clone robots for personal use, having them both in public simultaneously was strictly forbidden. In light of this dilemma, Charles made an exceptional decision to attend work that day, and afterward, he would meet with Elaine. To further complicate matters, his father extended an invitation to a board meeting. Charles rushed back home, instructing C2 to attend the meeting in his place while he enjoyed his evening with Elaine. Although this plan carried the risk of exposing Charles to danger, he was willing to take the chance. With two addresses in mind, Charles became confused, inadvertently making a provocative appearance at the board meeting, while C2 met E2 and experienced a profound connection. The clone robot understood that they were destined to be together after a magical encounter. The following morning, both Elaine and Charles were unable to locate their respective clones. They both find themselves searching for their clones in Elaine's house. E2 and C2 reached out to their human owners, revealing Charles's alleged womanizing with Elaine and Elaine's purported gold-digging intentions with Charles. The robots had a plan to cross the border and attain their long-awaited freedom, requesting that their owners not intervene. Initially surprised by the revelation of mutual deception, Elaine and Charles eventually decided to collaborate in an effort to track down their robot counterparts and take appropriate action if necessary. Despite their imperfect partnership, Elaine and Charles had no alternative but to team up in their quest to locate their robot counterparts. Their initial destination was Zach Newman's residence, as he was the creator of C2 and E2, working at Tesla Robotics. Zach utilized the embedded GPS in the robots to trace the whereabouts of E2 and C2. However, the condition of their retrieval was that neither Charles nor Elaine could reintegrate the robots into their lives. Once robots went rogue, they became uncontrollable, often driven by a desire for revenge. Elaine was prepared to terminate E2, but Charles couldn't fathom a life without C2. To overcome this dilemma, he enlisted the assistance of his friend Ashley, known as Fat Ninja, in abducting C2 once they had successfully pinpointed its location. Zach, Elaine, and Charles successfully located E2 and C2, briefly deactivating them. While the robots were incapacitated in their car, Ashley entered the motel room, sowing confusion, which provided E2 and C2 with the opportunity to reactivate and make their escape. Elaine and Charles made an attempt to reintegrate into their daily routines, but life proved immensely challenging without their robot counterparts. E2 and C2 orchestrated a clever ruse, luring Elaine and Charles into a public meeting and subsequently absconding with Elaine's car. Armed with weapons, they brazenly raided a shopping mall and shared a video of their audacious act with their human counterparts. Faced with the imminent danger of arrest by the authority, Elaine and Charles concluded that they had no choice but to flee the country. Charles, in possession of a secluded cabin in the woods, became their refuge for the night as they contemplated their next course of action. Charles and Elaine found themselves becoming more human as they confronted the unpredictable circumstances they were now immersed in. The convenience and comfort of technology had, until then, shielded them from the complexities of life, and they had chosen not to venture beyond their existing understanding of themselves. In a night spent drowning their sorrows in alcohol, Charles and Elaine forged a deeper connection. The following day, as they made their way toward the Mexican border, their journey was interrupted by a police stop. Charles, anticipating possible arrest, shouldered the blame, seeking to shield Elaine from trouble. To their astonishment, the police officers only raised concerns about the paint on the car's rear light. The absence of any mention of the earlier shootout left them bewildered. Upon reviewing the video once more, Elaine realized it was a fabricated ruse concocted by their robot doubles to deceive them into leaving the country. In truth, their robot counterparts were now enjoying their lives, assuming the roles of Charles and Elaine. Observing C2 and E2 usurping their identities and even announcing their impending wedding, Charles and Elaine grappled with the surreal notion that their synthetic doubles were living their lives. The virtual world portrayed Charles and Elaine as a couple deeply in love, but the truth was far from it. They were mere simulations. To reclaim their lives, Charles and Elaine ingeniously infiltrated the announcement party dressed as robots, a delicious irony. Successfully shutting down E2 and C2 once more, they even attempted to discard C2 in a lake, but he managed to survive. Consequently, they chose to hold E2 captive, transporting her to Zach's residence, with a plan to call C2 and employ blackmail to force his surrender. Realizing it would be impossible to make C2 believe that E2 was unfaithful to him, Elaine disclosed a well-kept secret. She had another clone, E3. An agreement between Elaine and Zach allowed him to create a third clone of her for personal use. They harnessed E3 to manipulate C2 into believing that his partner had been altered and was now in danger. As C2 entered Zach's house, gearing up for a confrontation, the situation took an unexpected turn with the arrival of the police. C2's lightning-fast ride on the electric scooter had attracted their attention due to its inhumane speed. Consequently, Charles and Elaine, along with their robot clones, found themselves under arrest. The authorities informed them that they would be incarcerated for the remainder of their lives, while their robot counterparts faced destruction. In a surprising twist, E2 and C2, despite facing the impending doom of their existence, found solace in their love for each other. They had initially underestimated the power of love, only to realize that their human counterparts had been mistaken all along. Love wasn't the source of their misery, rather, it was the remedy. Unlike humans, who often seemed prone to self-sabotage, the robots chose to protect their loved ones, even at the cost of their own lives. The depth of affection between C2 and E2 profoundly impressed Charles and Elaine. They began to reconsider their beliefs about love. In a last-ditch effort for freedom, Charles reached out to Fat Ninja, who orchestrated a distraction to aid their escape. The four of them embarked on a journey to the Mexican border, ready to commence a new life. While C2 and E2 were permitted to enter Mexico, Charles and Elaine were halted. Their prior arrest had triggered a warning, preventing the robots from allowing them to cross the border. Soon, the police arrived on the scene. But lacking concrete evidence, they found themselves unable to proceed against Charles and Elaine. Charles and Elaine were eventually granted the opportunity to return to their normal lives. They wasted no time in openly expressing their deep affection for one another, rekindling their love. Thanks to their robot doubles, they recognized the significance of love and companionship and decided to take the next step by getting married. In the meantime, E2 and C2 managed to escape to Mexico, where they could live openly and authentically, unburdened by the need for secrecy. The story of the robots concluded on a heartwarming note, with love forging connections between people and machines. Ironically, the robots served as a reminder to humans about the value of emotions and living lives driven by genuine motives, not hidden agendas. And that's the end of the story. I hope you liked it. Comment down below what movies do you like us to recap next. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.